Welcome to the Second Impression podcast. I'm your host, R.A.P, aka Rhythm and Poetry. Today's guest is fellow Canadian, BizSkotty.
Hey guys, how are you?
Sometimes it just runs too long. I say every episode how long I forget the clapping goes on for, but sometimes it just runs too long. So yeah, BizSkotty's here. First things first, introduce yourself to the listeners and let them know where they could find you.
Alrighty, so guys, my name is BizSkotty. I'm a underground hip hop artist from Ottawa, Canada. Basically, you can find my music right now on SoundCloud. Also, it will be on other platforms such as AudioMac, Audius, YouTube, Bandcamp, um, and all other DSPs in the near future. Um, yeah.
Dope. Cool. So I'll ask you the first question in the interview. How did you end up choosing the name BizSkotty?
Well, actually, it came to me while I was chilling with one of my homies, and my homie and I were kind of lighting up some weed, and happened to be Biscotti, and my homie afterwards just started really calling me Biscotti, and the name kind of just stuck. Originally, I was going just by Scotty G, which was kind of my real name, but it felt very generic. It felt like when I went on Spotify, there was a million other people also with the name Scotty G. So I just felt like being a little bit more original with the name, and also with the biz part, it's just also a shout out to the legend Biz Markie. His music when I was younger had a lot of an influence on me. So that's where that part comes to, and just Scott also being my original name.
That's dope. It's like four meanings behind it, but I definitely like just biscotti without knowing any of the meanings behind it. Is like how do you say very fun to say, just biscotti, like biscotti, biscotti. You know what I mean? So it gives
Yeah,
somebody the earworm if they hear one of your tracks or like hear somebody shout you out. That's something that could stick in somebody's head, right?
that's true. That's true. It's kind of like short and sweet, right?
Yeah,
Something that you say, much like when you hear R.A.P., it also can kind of stick in someone's brain, right? Because it's like that short thing, and it's something that'll be memorable to someone else, right?
that's true. That's true. So yeah, I'll go with this question number two. What sort of vibe would you say best portrays your music?
With my music, what I'm really trying to go for with it is I really like the old school '90s kind of hip hop where it was the boom bap with lots of sample based production. So with my music, what I'm really trying to do is kind of bring back that sound. Also mixing like poetry, spoken word into it, so it's not your typical just um, rap rap kind of stuff. I would say my music, if I had to compare to some artists, would be a mixture of sounds such as Joey Badass mixed with a little bit of Rock Marciano in there from the minimalistic production side of things, as well as how he kind of uh, spits his bars is more different than you typically hear nowadays.
Yeah, and being someone that also kind of writes on a more poetic aspect, I could definitely respect like a style like that as well, where it's like more of like open word kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, open ended. Like I write a lot more free verse kind of raps than I write raps with hooks. I don't know. I always kind of was more into just listening. I could listen to 5 minutes of bars when I was a kid and think that was the hardest kind of thing. Those are the types of songs I always grew up listening to, and I enjoy writing. I can write hooks and stuff. It's just sometimes it doesn't come to me as naturally as writing a 16 does.
I see. So yeah, it definitely has something of your hip hop upbringing like dived into
Yeah.
there. But yeah, so I'll move on to question number three. So you touched on this a little bit, but who could you say inspired you to start making music?
Right now, when I started first making music, it would obviously, when I first started making music, it was actually around the time when Lil Wayne would have been going on his huge mixtape tear, which I think was around 2009, 2009 to like 2013. That time where he was releasing the Drought, the Dedication series. And honestly, when I first heard him rap, it made me really, really interested in wordplay and kind of similes and all that. So listening to him made me really get into rap. But before that, I was always the kid who was in school, kind of writing poetry and writing stories and stuff. So I always had that side of me. But listening to Lil Wayne at first was the first rapper that obviously got me started. But then from there, I went back and kind of dug in the crates and found the artist that I kind of more so would say founded who I am in hip hop, right? Who I am with my music today.
Damn, that's like a you kind of found like a starting point and then just worked your way backwards from there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like it was like found the starting point, and then it was kind of, I know I love the culture and the aspects of hip hop, but I know from where I come from and who I am, hip hop's
Mm-hmm.
not my culture. So it was like, before I take a step into this culture, I have to go and do my research, pay my dues and my respects before I can kind of jump into it, because one of my big things within hip hop is keeping integrity to the culture and keeping true to what hip hop is, rather than just kind of coming in and saying I know what this is and not really doing my research beforehand type thing.
Yeah, I find more artists should have that mentality too, because a lot of people just not necessarily come in and trash the culture, but don't have any respect for it. They just come do whatever, like Island Boys and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But
Silent.
yeah. So I'll move on to question number four. If you could open up for any artist of any genre, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Hmm, that's a good question. Oof. There's a lot of artists there, but for me, like one artist that I would love to open up for, it's more of a band than anything. I don't, or just to like sing one of their songs with them would have been Led Zeppelin.
Mm,
I'm a big Zeppelin fan. Like Kashmir, Dazed and Confused, like that would be an epic band to perform for, because Bottom on the drums was probably like one of my favorite drummers that I've heard like growing up, listening to back to his music obviously. um, but hearing the stories, his story and everything about him and his music just was very their music just was very interesting and really spoke to me.
that's a very good answer. That's why I wanted to specify any genre at all, because I wasn't just focusing on hip hop. I knew you had a wider set palette than just hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll move on to question number five. If you had to pick one of your tracks as your favorite, which would you choose and why?
Mm, that's a good question. Out of the three I have right now, I'd probably say my favorite track out of the three would be my track that's "Leave the Guns with the Drums,"
Hmm.
or LT DWTG, because it was the first track I made the beat on that track. It was a very minimalistic beat, but it was the first time I'd ever tried my hands at producing, and it was a track I did with my homie. It was a very kind of spontaneous track where I made the beat. He heard it and I heard it, and we kind of just went in over the beat, and then I mixed and mastered it myself. So it was just kind of like a from the process. It was like from start to finish. It felt good because I did it myself, and that's the kind of first time I've done something where like I've produced it from start to finish, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. I feel like that's like as an artist, I've had a step like that where you have one song that you could go back and look at and see the steps that you've taken to, evolve into what you are becoming like in the future type of thing, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I feel that too because even I look back, like, yeah, I get that too because I can even look back on some of the songs that I did with some of the B2B members when I was going by Scotty G. And even some of those songs, I can see that led me to a better like production place where I'm at now with what I'm putting out too, allowed me to help get better flows and practice and get better to the point that I'm at now. So I'm also very appreciative for being able to have all those collabs and stuff from all the guys in that group as well, and hope to do
Awesome.
more also.
Oh, for sure. Now that you're back in the game, bro. But yeah, so our last question of the interview, sorry, is what's your plan for your future in music right now?
Right now, I'm really doing a lot of work where I'm just releasing my music. Um, and I'm trying to release singles, but also I'm thinking of doing a couple like free tapes just on SoundCloud, Audio Mac with some producers, just to get my name out there for promotional purposes only, not really to just like kind of give that old school mixtape vibe back. So just bring those promotional things back, that stuff back, and also I don't really have any shows or anything lined up. But right now it's more so just focusing on releasing music and continuing to make good music.
Awesome. So that concludes our interview portion of the show. Hopefully, that got you guys to know BizSkotty a little bit more. If you guys are interested in knowing anything more about him or listening to some of his music, we'll make sure to provide his links in the description. So the next segment that we're moving on is called Quiz the Wiz. Essentially, if you guys haven't partaken in this or have never listened before, this is a little quiz show that we tailor make for every single guest that comes on. They give us three categories or three subjects before every show, and then we break it down and give them 9 questions to answer. Um, how confident are you feeling in this?
Decently confident. I'm a bit worried about the guest lyrics part, but like, hey, we'll give it a shot and see how it goes.
All right. So the three categories that Biscotti chose today are snowboarding, guess the lyrics, and WWE Attitude Era. So we're going to be going on or starting, sorry, with our first question, number one, which is a snowboarding question. What year was snowboarding first added to the Olympic Games? Was it A, 1995, B, 1998, C, 2000, or D, 1987?
87.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That was incorrect. The correct answer was B. 1998 was the first year that it was inducted into the Olympic Games.
87 just sounded lucky.
All right. So we'll move on to question number two. This is a guess the lyrics one. So because I'm residing in Toronto, I had to start it off with a Drake lyric. So finish this Drake lyric. Got a lot of blood and it's cold. They keep trying to get me from my soul. Thankful for the blank that I know. Is it A, friends, B, women, or C, guys?
Friends?
Is that your final answer?
Wait. No, fuck.
Got a
I
lot
know
of
the
blood
song.
and
I
it's
don't.
cold. They keep trying to get me for my soul. Thankful for the blank that I know.
Yeah, I'm going with friends. I'm going
Friends?
with friends. Yeah.
That unfortunately was incorrect. The answer was women. Thankful for the women that I know. And the song was
That
I'm
was it.
Upset by Drake.
I haven't listened to Drake in a while, not that I don't like Drake, I just haven't listened to him in a while, so I wouldn't be up to date on his lyrics.
That's all good, man. That's all good. So we'll move on to question number three, which is a WWE. So, what WWE Attitude Era superstar is without a doubt the greatest to ever work the microphone?
Hmm. In my opinion, Ric Flair.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, Ric Flair with the alligator boots. Woo! Yeah, that,
Woo! No, unfortunately, that's incorrect. On the
really?
number, yeah, the number one on their top 50 list is Dwayne the Rock Johnson is the best to ever work the microphone.
That is true. Actually, watching him when they brought him back for the Super Bowl and everything, that they did bring back a lot of memories of the "Can you smell what the rocks cooking?" or
Yeah, and
whatever. All the memories came back.
another thing too that they mentioned was that a lot of the time during the promos, they don't even know what the Rock's gonna say. Like anything could fly out of his mouth, you know. It was back then, not in the PG era, just straight up in the Attitude Era.
That's true. Him and Stone Cold were the kind of crazy ones back then.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we'll move on to question number four.
Wow, I'm doing
Uh,
terrible.
back to snowboarding. So, which Norwegian snowboarder was the first to pull off a triple cork backflip during the 2013 X Games?
Wow. Norwegian. I don't even know anyone that's Norwegian. I don't know. Would not know that one. That's a stumper.
So, his name is Torstein Horgmo.
Who's this?
He's the first ever snowboarder during the X Games to pull off a triple cork backflip without injuring himself. Shaun White tried to do it the year after and hurt himself and never attempted it ever again. So far, he's the only person to ever land a triple cork backflip. So we'll move on to question number five. This goes back to guess the lyrics. So we decided to pick a Jay Z lyric for you this time.
Mm,
So the lyric goes like this.
hopefully, I don't screw this up.
Also, I just wanted to advertise that if I ruin any of the flows or how any of these lyrics are actually said, I totally apologize. But yeah, I sell ice in the winter. I sell fire in hell. I am a hustler, baby. I'll sell blank to a whale. Is the answer A, water, B, fish, or C, freedom?
Water.
Water? Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So that was the lyric. I'll sell water to a whale, and the song is "You Don't Know" by Jay Z.
That's funny. My buddy and I freestyle over that beat like a lot. It's one of the classic Jay Z freestyle beats.
Yeah. So we will move on to question number six. That goes back to the WWE. What pair of brothers from the WWE Attitude Era were the most responsible for the popularity of the tables, ladders, and chairs match? So it'd be what tag team?
Yeah. Oh, this is really killing me right now because I used to watch this and I really thought I knew this stuff better. Um, just being honest. I don't know. I can't remember. Like I was thinking Beer Money Incorporated, but I don't know if they were brothers, and I don't know if that was the same era or not. That's
Is
where
it
I was going. So
okay? So I'm gonna give you the ooh. um, so the pair of brothers that were known, or sorry, most responsible for the popularity of the TLC match are called the Hardy Boys. It's Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy.
right, and now I remember them when I hear the names.
Yeah,
But before,
Jeff Hardy, man, the Swanton bomb, bro. I don't know how many times as a kid that I did the Swanton bomb into a pool or onto my mattress or on a trampoline.
That's true. Always trying to do it to a pool.
So we'll go on to the next question. This is back to snowboarding. So who is the most widely known snowboarder of all time?
Do.
Who is the most famous snowboarder of all time?
Sean White.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
The answer is Shaun White. He is the most popular snowboarder of all time. I guess the most, how would you say,
Like most.
household name, I guess. Is that the term?
Yeah, like yeah, I knew him. I know, yeah, because I have his snowboard from when he had like that Yeti snowboard, like way back. I got
Mhm.
that one as like my first snowboard when I was a kid.
Nice. So we'll move on to question number 8. This is back to guess the lyrics, and we're going to finish it off with a Little Wayne lyric for you.
Okay, hopefully I got this one. We'll see.
Lil Tunchi got that fire, and these hoes love me like Satan. Man, yeah, fuck with me and get bodied. All she eat is blank. She's on a strict diet. Is the answer A, avocado toast, B, fish, or C, dick?
Obviously, C. I'm gonna say it's C.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
That is correct. It is not avocado toast. You were right. So yeah, it's yeah, fuck with me and get bodied. All she eat is dick. She's on a strict diet. The song is "Love
Yeah.
Me" by Lil Wayne.
Sounds like Lil Wayne.
I was trying really hard not to laugh when I said avocado toast because I thought I was just trying to think of something really white, you know.
Ah, avocado toast. Never had that.
um, I have to say I have had it and it tastes pretty goddamn good. I'm not gonna lie.
Might have to
so
try it sometime.
so I'll move on to question number 9, which is our last question. Um, so what was the start of the Attitude Era? Was it A 1990, B 1982, C 1997, or D 2002?
Hmm. Hmm. I believe it was the 1990. Yeah,
Yep.
1990.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Unfortunately, that was incorrect. The answer was 1997 is when it started, and 2002 is when it ended, apparently.
Really? What the heck? I
No,
thought it
it's
was way. I thought it was like 1990, or my other answer was going to be 1982 because yeah, because I thought like because I was thinking of Ric Flair and when he was in like in the WWE like at that time and he started in 72, so I was thinking like I know he was part of the like that era, but he didn't start then. But he wasn't like a big like a household like he was kind of yeah, like he was in that era, but you know what I mean. But I was
so
thinking he started that era prior to them.
so the WWE used to be known as the WWF, and then in
Right.
2002 is when they switched over from the WWF to the WWE. Um, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, 'cause the Worldwide Animal Foundation or whatever, the World Wildlife Federation complained about them copying their name and
yeah, exactly,
owning the copyright to WWF and shit.
exactly, and in 1997. So this actually, I was talking to Casey about this a few episodes ago because he also chose wrestling as a subject, and
Right.
we were talking about how Stone Cold Steve Austin used to be a really good in ring wrestler until he had an incident and he basically broke his neck, and then he came back and had to like reinvent himself and become more of like a brawler slash trash talker kind of thing, and that's when the whole Attitude Era really started taking off because you had people like Stone Cold, The Rock, Generation X, people like that and stuff. Just like pushing the envelope and causing shit all over the place, basically.
Right, and then you brought in like the Undertaker and those guys who came in too.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, so I have to ask you, how do you think you did from 1 out of 9?
Garbage. Like I didn't do well at all in that quiz, but c'est la vie.
All right, we'll tally up your score here. You actually got 3 out of 9 correct.
33%. That's pretty good, I guess.
33%. Give you the nice golf clap.
Better than zero, so can't complain.
It's true, it's true. Cool, man. So that concludes the end of Quiz the Wiz. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to take a quick break and listen to a new track by our guest. This is Big Biz by BizSkotty. Let's check it out.
I'm so high, I touch the sky. I'm 5'8", but feel like 6'5". Up late working, fuck a 9 to 5. This music makes me come alive like summertime. I ain't pop, but I pop more than an upper every time. With every rhyme, every line tough like orange rind. Cause it takes courage to find peace of mind. Lord, give me a sign, send it does to find peace in time. Reason why I'm leaving my soul on the line, on the grind. Like a skateboard, nollie over bullshit. Load a full clip, aim it at your drip. Let bullets rip, all for a blue chip. Gotta get a grip, never held a grip. Words are weapons, so I'm spitting wigs when I'm spitting. Target hitting, guess I'm a lethal weapon when I step in. Plus, life is what you make it, so I'm trying to make it heaven. Not just 7 seconds, baby, can I have your blessing? I know I'm so impressing, show me my respect. Do you know who you addressing? BizSkotty, too hottie, Mr. God Body, kill somebody with the power of a God's body. So y'all receivers of a God's word through speakers. Audio dope is what I serve. Audio dope is what I serve. Audio dope is what I serve. Yes sir. Y'all want the fame, you can have the fame. I just want respect, put it on my name. This peace and prosperity, spared with the clarity of the Pharisees. You can't compare to me. I'm fly as Paris speed, better be aware of me. Masterpiece, pass the peace, sow the weed. I can cheat, get high like a leaf of sunrise. Sip tequila, shots at your head like a 9mm. Morbid, yes, drain your blood, Morbius. Break out the matrix like Morpheus. Was trapped in my neocortex, in a vortex, but I'll bounce back stronger than Gore-Tex. I'm in a caddy, finger radically, spitting magically. Bitches mad at me, cause I spit so attractively. Actively, kill the beat, homie, I'm killer elite. Kill the elite, control, I'll delete. The ultimate defeat is when you let energies deplete. I imagine neck and feet, check me, a hazardous bet. I come correct with a capital letter G. He always right behind and ahead of me. Rhyme raw practically and theoretically.
Welcome back. Once again, that was Big Biz by BizSkotty. So now we're going to be moving into the last segment of our show, which is titled "Do You Remember?" Basically, what this is that we get a topic to start the conversation from our guest, kind of a throwback topic, and then we just sit back and relax and kind of talk. So the category or topic that was chosen today was 70s and 80s rock and roll. So why don't you start us off? Start us off.
So for me, like a big influence also in a lot of sounds that I like when I rap is like guitar sounds, because for me a big influence in music was before I got into hip hop. Basically, all the sounds that were around me in my house would have been rock and roll, and a lot of it would have been like Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Triumph, which is a dope Canadian band for all those that didn't know them or want to know more about them. And that was just kind of like what got me started into my journey into music and whatnot there. So that's kind of like some of those bands were really big to me, and also just like learning about how there's like when you look at like punk rock and whatnot from those eras, how you can kind of see the parallels between hip hop and also the rock cultures, how there was a lot of similarities between kind of how they were in a sense anti-establishment and fighting for the rights of the people. Both cultures were having that but doing them in different ways, so it was just kind of very interesting for me to see those things, I guess.
Yeah, and you could definitely see the bridge between them, and also you could see how both of them have influenced new sounds. Like well, not so new anymore, but for example, like BC Boys, Limp Bizkit, even Rage Against the Machine, where it's more of like a rap rock type of style. But even just in how you were speaking of using samples and stuff like that, having particular like I actually it's cool that we're talking about this because I was actually talking to one of my producers and we were trying to make a beat and he was playing around with his guitar and I was like telling him it didn't sound like raw enough. It sounded like it was too filtered and it didn't sound like an electric guitar. And I think it would make it sound better if it was more of like an electric guitar, kind of like in what's that song Lollipop by Lil Wayne, how they just have the fucking guitar going, you know what I mean?
Right.
I
Yeah.
feel I feel like that kind of brings a different sound to it. And the thing that I sort of miss from like kind of like an old school hip hop perspective or anything like that is that they didn't have so much has digitized sounds and stuff that they're able to use. Everything was really like raw sounding because it was all raw sounding. If you wanted proper drums and shit like that, you get a drum set in the studio and you record yourself popping on the drum set, or playing piano or playing guitar or playing the harp or whatever the hell you wanted to play and have in your tunes.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate that too, because like when I listen now, like a lot of the producers I'm listening to, my buddy put me on to them, but like Vidon, Ito, Rock Marciano, PA Dre, and a few others. They all kind of do a lot of the minimalistic like beats where it's like less drums and more it's like you focus on just the instruments and it's kind of like an a cappella but with like ambiance behind it. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. I don't know if you've heard of RJ Payne. Um, but he's an artist I've been listening to a lot recently into that, and he's incorporated a lot of rock songs vibes into one of his albums called Blood on My Chainsaw,
Hmm.
um, which is like a lot of just like you'll listen to it and it's really cool. He also has another one where he took a lot of rock vibes and brought them into it, where he takes on the story of did you ever watch the movie New Jack City?
Yeah.
He takes the story of what if Nino Brown never actually got killed, like what if Nino Brown survived the gunshot at the end of the movie, and he tells a whole story of like that, but it doesn't get you listen to his whole album and you don't get to you get to the seventh track, and that's the first track you hear an actual like snare drum on, and it was like all kind of just instrumentation beforehand, and I think it's really cool that artists do that and bring it like the influences of other genres like into hip hop. Um, which is very unique, like because no other genre really does that.
It's true. And it always goes back to building that bridge, right? Because like at the end of the day, we're all creators and musicians and artists and stuff like that. We want to be able to intertwine with other people and stuff like that. It's like perfect example is just like it's like the stroke of a brush, right? Like you have one color and another color and you run them both over each other and they create another color, you know? That's it's the same kind of aspect and stuff. And I feel like personally, people who have uh, wider, I guess, range on their musical palette, they definitely have more creative juices in a certain way where they're able to actually paint a picture and actually have a story from beginning to end, whether it's through their instrumental or the instruments that they play or through the words spoken, from start to finish. You could go through a whole journey or a whole trip with them and actually feel every single second of it, you know?
That's true. That's true because like when you can hear like everyone's like when people do say stuff, you can always hear the words they're saying, like in the music and stuff. When you can have a time to focus on what the person's actually saying, you can get more of a meaning for it too.
It's true. I feel too though at the same time it kind of takes you like on a roller coaster if the beat has that a type of effect where like you're able to follow through it, you're able to follow the steps and stuff. And that's like I keep saying why I find rock and roll, a lot of the rock and roll you listen to from the 70s and 80s and 90s, even rap still, like a lot of the different genres and stuff, they're telling stories. Like they do have, for example, like songs from the Beatles. If you go through the whole catalog of the Beatles, they do have songs that are very short and catchy, which would be comparable to Gucci Gang nowadays and stuff like that, where there's not much to it, but people like it because it's a catchy little tune. But they have other stories where they're, or other, sorry, songs where they're complete stories that you could follow from start to finish. And you're like, I know what's going on. I could see this, sorry, through somebody else's eyes, right?
Yeah, that is true. That is true, but one thing about the Beatles though is apparently they did steal a lot of their music and the songs from black culture, which was kind of like a big thing back then. It wasn't really like focused on, but it was something with some of their songs like The Long Winding Road and a few other songs that they had were actually sung by like soul singers prior to them, and they
Mm-hmm.
kind of heard the songs and then like I guess acculturated the sounds and made it more rocky and more different, um, which is interesting to me because that's kind of like it shows that that also happened in the rock, also happened in rock, and it happens in all genres, which is kind of like interesting in a sense, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is too that people forget is that in the early days of the Beatles and like a little bit, well, I guess they had pretty long career though, but like in the early days of the Beatles, like their type of rock wasn't accepted either. This was something brand new that they were bringing over. They got banned from a lot of shows that they were trying to do overseas and stuff like that because their their sound was at that time anti-establishment, you know, with some
Mm-hmm.
of the songs they were putting out.
Right. And at that time, they were probably like they were like the most, one of the most famous rock bands, or were the most famous rock band at that time, I guess, based on what I read and heard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm more like when it comes, I like the Beatles, but I never really was a big fan. Where like I would say they're the greatest group ever. And when it came to like rock, I was kind of more into like more of like Motley Crue, like Shout at the Devil,
Mm.
like that their kind of stuff. I've I'm a big Triumph fan, um, who's from like Canada. Um, they're a very good band. I also was like into Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, as I said earlier. Um, and then like a lot more. I just am not thinking of them off the top of my head right now.
Yeah,
But there was a lot more groups that I listened to from back then too, like the Ramones, the Eagles. Even though the Eagles came a bit later, I think, but maybe they were around then too, because they had a pretty long career too. And like the Beach Boys, which was a different type of rock and roll and stuff like that too.
yeah. See, I think I myself got a little bit blessed by my stepdad because we listen to so many different types of music. So like I touch on this sometimes, but essentially what we used to listen to all the time was a lot of Kiss. So there's a lot of Kiss kind of rock, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, my man. um, Garth Brooks was a lot of Garth Brooks in my house, and there was also a lot of Elvis. Like my stepfather was a huge fan of Kiss and Elvis, and like we listened to that religiously in my house growing up. Um, to a
Yeah,
certain point.
country. Yeah, so my dad you listened to like a lot of Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, George Strait, um, Blake Shelton, like all the like country music kind of stuff
Yeah.
was like my dad's kind of realm because like I remember in a car driving around with him listening to like Alan Jackson, riding around in his car thinking it was the coolest stuff ever as a little kid, and now hating country music with like a passion. I just can't listen to it. I don't know.
Well, the comparison I always make, and another thing too, is like my most of my family they're all from Timmins, Ontario, and that's like the stomping grounds of Shania Twain. So Garth Brooks and Shania Twain were what everybody listened to because my mom's like, I went to school with her brother and like that kind of shit and stuff. But um, I have to agree with you. But the difference that I could, I guess, categorize them in is that I don't like listening to new country because it's very
Generic.
generic. Yeah, exactly. The same thing. You know what to expect. I could listen to one country song. I've listened to all of them. You know what I mean? As to like
Mm-hmm.
old country, like older country that I listen to, I could respect more of the craft. But not so much nowadays. I don't really care about crying about beers and tractors and incest and shit like that. My dog dying, and bear
It
traps and
also
hunting and losing my fish and all that shit.
It also feels like now the songs have also gone from like what country was back then to like being infused with kind of rock and roll. So they kind of feel like they're a bit like overproduced in the sense of where the like master doesn't leave a lot of like dynamic range. So it kind of feels like they're overproduced in the sense of, by that being said, there's so much happening in them that they're less memorable compared to before. Like the beats were more minimalistic, it was less instruments and whatnot in them, so like it was easier for people to focus in and listen, if you like it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm gonna say this right now, and you guys listening could take this as a conspiracy or take this however you want. But I feel like there was a point in time where you could see a shift. Taylor Swift coming and making country music when she first was around, or when she first got into making music and stuff, and going more to a pop country sound, kind of brought the whole country like genre into pop. If you get what I'm saying, because like I feel like that was a clear transition because she made it a lot more. How do you say? More palatable for people in a way, but then it just made this really garbage pop slash country sounding sound where a lot of people were either falling into the realm of country rock or country pop, and nobody was doing just country anymore. And there's a lot of people that I find, no disrespect to like the genre, but they don't do just country anymore. It has to be infused with pop or, like you said, with rock and shit like that. And that just doesn't interest me at all.
That's true, and then we have people like Lil Nas X.
Yeah.
Nothing against him, but just I don't know how he can claim country rap when Old Town Road is his only was his only country rap song.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I could make a rap song and then get Billy Ray Cyrus to be on it and makes country rap. Like, you know, a feature
Yeah,
goes a long way sometimes.
or just get Bubba Sparks to come on the song. Given he went the whole country, I think that's what he's doing now is the country rap instead of Miss New Booty, rocking everywhere. Um, but I know I don't have that flow right, but whatever.
It it sucks sometimes because you could see some people who were a little bit ahead, falling behind, and then kind of grasping at straws to be able to like, I'm gonna try to do whatever I'm able to do. You know, like I'm gonna infuse this with this and make ska music like No Doubt or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's true. Lots of people are trying to mix so many different sounds these days that don't always necessarily work. Um, Not that that's a bad thing or anything. Like, it's cool. I like people. I just like keeping it simple, though. I find simplicity works 99 times out of like 100 times. The more easy it is for someone to listen to, like, I don't know. Like, even if you're making an energetic beat, you can do that with a few instruments. You don't need to do it with a lot. Like, I don't know. But again, lots of energies. Beats aren't really my like go to in a sense as well, right?
Yeah. All right. So that ends our Do You Remember segment. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode, BizSkotty. I hope we get you on again.
Yeah, I'd love to come back another time. We can definitely figure that out.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure that you smash that quiz show. That's why everybody comes back. They come back to smash that show, bro. They want those 9 out of 9 questions.
Yeah, I definitely would want to repay my terribleness of getting 3 out of 9 on there. Would want to get a thing. I did better in KC's hip hop quiz show than I did on here. I have to now like redeem myself on here.
For sure, man. All right. Well, tune in next week to the Second Impression podcast and show with me, R.A.P, and our new guest. Good night, everyone.